Ndị be anyị, asị m ka ụbọchị nketa mara na anyị mma, asị m ka nke onye chikwelu ya zelu. Dịka o si dị, ihe a bụ Eastern News 24 bụ ebe anyị si wee na-ewetara unu ya bụ nnukwu ozi dị oke mkpa gbasịta maka ihe na-eme na obodo anyị nọ n'ime ya, ana gbasịta maka nwere onwe ndị Igbo na-azọ. Dịka o si dị, ọ bụ na ya bụ ụbọchị izi gị ị na-agafete n'iru akwụkwọ afọ chanel anyị, kaba alụ ka ị sọbskraibụ antọnụ onion notification. Maka gịnị? Anyị na-etinyekwanụ update daily gbasịta maka ihe na-eme n'obodo anyị nọ n'ime ya, agbasịta maka nwere onwe ndị Igbo na-azọ. Dịka o si dị, ya wetara unu n'iru akwụkwọ bụ ife anyị na-akpọkwa evening tea ka anyị ji maka ya, ka anyị ji mara ya. Anyị na-akpọ ya evening tea. Ife a bụ Biafran prime minister in exile were ife were ịgwa ụmụ Igbo. Unu ga-esi ya bụ ife n'ụdị nke gị, ị ga-esi ya bụ ife ịkaba alụ kwuo efe ichelu gbasịta maka ihe ndị a niile Biafran prime minister kwuru n'iru akwụkwọ n'ụbọchị nke taa anyị na-akpọ evening tea. Ị ga-esi drop your own comment. All right, over to you, sir.
People in Washington, like myself, that's why people in the U.S. government are getting behind President Badarai. If they're upset about that, they need to get their act together. And we could look at, what we could do with them once they get themselves together. So I just want to put that out there in a very open and honest way. With President Badarai, we've seen the success. It's public. We're not hiding anything. We saw the meeting with Congressman Sherman, which he tweeted about. We saw the meeting with Ambassador Tibor Nagy, former Assistant Secretary for African Affairs under Trump, and former U.S. Ambassador to Ethiopia. He tweeted about it, and this is just a little bit. We've had many other meetings, Congresswoman Betty McCollum, other members of Congress. We've had a lot of momentum, and this is just the beginning. You're going to see more and more support coming from the U.S. government. I think eventually what's going to happen, especially as the Horn of Africa becomes more unstable, is we already have many people in the government who view President Badarai as the legitimate president, not Isaias Afwerki. I think once the Horn of Africa moves towards a conflagration, and we see what's happening with Somalia, Somaliland, Ethiopia, the Horn of Africa is a powder keg waiting to explode. But I think, once we get to that point, we're going to push for a more formal recognition by the U.S. government of President Badarai's government. I think the best analogy would be, in this case, for a period of time under the Trump administration, the U.S. government recognized Juan Guaido as the legitimate leader of Venezuela over the Maduro government. So similarly, I think we're going to move in that direction where at some point the U.S. government's going to more formally proclaim that President Badarai is the legitimate leader of Eritrea and not Isaias Afwerki. And again, if there are people in the Eritrean opposition who are upset about this, they should blame themselves because the U.S. government has been chomping at the bit, eager to work with them, and they've never showed up to Washington, D.C. So again, I would say to members of the opposition, either get in line, get it behind President Badarai because the train is leaving the station. So either support us or stay on the sidelines. What they should not do is try to be bitter about this and make complaints about, why they're not, leading this and why President Badarai is leading this. They should not be doing that. Either they should be supporting us, and a lot of groups are consolidating around President Badarai, or they should be on the sidelines, but they should not be complaining. So, that's the context where we put BIAFRA on the map. Enormous success. December 2nd is going to be the redeclaration of the Biafran state. We're going to get, all the support here in Washington for that. Nigeria is going to be toast, if not formally, but then at least de facto. And similarly with the Eritrean transitional government, we're moving towards a more formal recognition of President Badarai as the legitimate leader of Eritrea and over Isaias Afwerki. And then, when that happens, we'll decide, what to do from there. So, I just want to give you the overview, and I want to speak very frankly, because I think the time now is to have frank discussions, not to, play around the edges. And so I just want to put everything on the table for you, and I hope this was helpful.
Thank you. Thank you for all of that. My next question is going to be, I'm sorry, I have to go back to this screen. Okay. Are there any peaceful solutions on the horizon or political dialogue for independence, or do you believe it can only be solved by armed conflicts? If armed struggle is the solution, what sort of preparations are on the way? This, Mr.
I think he's asking Prime Minister
Yes,
Simon.
yes, Prime Minister.
All right, thank you very much for that question. What we're doing now is that, of course, we are open for, peaceful dialogue and all that. As a matter of fact, we are the peaceful one. The Nigerian state is the violent one. And of course, we've actually learned from what happened to others, both in Nigeria and elsewhere in Africa. Africa leaders are the most corrupt, selfish leader you can see anywhere in the world. So they don't actually believe in dialogue and peaceful discussion. So we've seen in Biafra land where peaceful agitators are getting killed, where people who just carry flag to demonstrate on the street are getting shot, straight bullet, killed, massacred in their cold blood. And this has happened from 1999, since the resurgence of the Biafra agitation under Mossab, under the IPOB, Nigeria, where people believe that we're fighting for freedom, only to go to the street, get killed, and they use their pictures and videos to share on the social media. Nigeria is killing us, Nigeria is killing us. I was sitting and watching those things as one Nigerianist that I was. So when I know that Nigeria, it can never ever get better, and I said, instead of wasting my time trying to wait for somebody to come and revive a faulty foundation that I know how rotten it is better that I use everything I have, both my intelligence, my profession, my experience, to support the liberation of Biafra. I joined the struggle. So when I joined the struggle, one of the things I did and promised myself and my God is that under my watch, Nigeria will no longer kill any Biafran and enjoy the killing. So what did we do differently? What we did differently is that in as much as we believe in peaceful agitation and then also, ready for dialogue, so this whole thing can be resolved amicably in a more democratic way, Nigeria are the one bringing violence against our people, killing them for asking for freedom. So we decided to raise our defense forces, and defense forces will be defending our land against the terrorists in uniform, while we will continue to push to the outside world, to the West, to America, in a more diplomatic, more refined, and more, a political way. So we believe in those approaches, and because of the way Nigeria is and the kind of mentality which is kill, 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 and we understand them very well. And the people that are ruling Nigeria are nomadic people. They are not Nigerians. They are not originally from Niger area. The president himself is not a Nigerian. I don't know whether you people are aware of that. He's not originally from Nigeria. The vice president is not originally from Nigeria. So these are people who do not believe in human dignity and the right to life. And of course, we always love human beings. We protect them. We protect women. We protect children. So what I did under my government was that I will provide that security that Nigeria never provided for people. I will make sure that those who support the Biafra government, and whenever they get killed, Nigeria will pay their defense. So we started our self-defense by raising the Biafra Liberation Army, the Biafra Resistance Fighters, and the Biafra Navy. And today, they are engaging Nigeria terrorists whenever they want to kill, as usual. So this is why it looks as if there is a violent way to our freedom. We are not the one bringing violence. The Nigerian state do it. So whenever they see that they cannot overpower us anymore, they start running around and complaining that we are violent. How are we violent? Were we the one who went to the streets to butcher and kill people that are carrying flags? Nigeria is not only violent to Biafrans. They are even violent to those who believe in Nigeria. You see them killing people for protesting for bad governance. You see them killing those who protested for criminals in the NSAS protest when they are protesting against the terrorist SAS officials. They get killed and they cover them. At the end of the day, over 1,000 persons were secretly buried in Lagos. So Nigeria state is a terrorist state. Using violent states on them is just to give them some kind of accolade. They are terrorist state, and so anybody supporting Nigeria is actually aiding terrorism. That's why we are ready to defend ourselves. And so it looks as if there are people who are violent or violent agitators. There is no violent agitator. All we do is to defend ourselves to make sure that Nigeria will never have a field day killing Biafrans again. If you check the past, from 2016 to 2017 to 18, they killed and massacred Biafrans in the field of Biafra, and nobody has been held responsible for it. This is the reason it looks as if we are towing the pathway of violence. And of course, we respond when a government is bringing violence. You do not fold your arms. You will respond with violence. And of course, you need to even have a superior power to be able to withstand the kind of barbarism from the Nigeria state. And that's what Biafra have done very, very well. Thank you.
Thank you, Prime Minister, Mr. Simon. And this historical and joint interview, with the Eritrean government in exile is a milestone in our fight for freedom for the two movements: freedom for Biafra from Nigeria, and also for the government of Eritrea in exile, and government of Eritrea in exile, and of Eritrea inside the dictatorial regime in Eritrea. Can you tell us what do you have in common, both these sisterly governments in exile and the struggle for independence and the struggle for free Eritrean people from the tyrant administration in Asmara?
Thank you, Mr. KHA. And again, thank you, Prime Minister Simon. And I would like also to commend Mr. Elias being straightforward in this 21st century.
Right.
We don't have anything to hide. When you're fighting for freedom, there is nothing to hide.
Yes, everything on the table, Mr. President.
Pardon me?
Everything on the table.
Yes, it should be on the table. Only a tyrant will have something to hide, but we have to be upfront because we're fighting for freedom. So we shouldn't have anything to be worried about by telling it like it is. On that previous question you gave to the Prime Minister, Simon, if there is a peaceful political dialogue, but with this dictatorship and the tyrants, the oppressors, they don't have any vocabulary that says peace. In our case, it looked like it's too late. It became to the point of no return. I don't think they would listen to that aspect. If there is a way, even today, after all this damage that has happened in my nation, Eritrea, if there is anything to be dialogue, if there is a peaceful way to exit, in order to reach or achieve our freedom, we want to do it with the minimum damage. We don't want any further bloodshed. We don't want to create a humongous military in order to battle the existing military. For God's sake, those military that are inside Eritrea is the people's military. They are not a private military. They belong to the nation. If I would remind each and every one of you, as you graduated from Sawa, you have a pledge you gave. And that says, yes, as a military, I will protect my nation and my people from external and internal enemies. Repeat it, from external and internal enemies. So, I still want to remind you, the biggest enemy is the internal one that is looming and causing all this harm among each of us. As we know, he lives in our differences, so we have to minimize our differences in order to know and identify and target the enemy. Coming back to your question though, what do we have in common? Well, injustice in one place is injustice everywhere. If we are claiming we've been unjustly treated, the same goes for the BIAFRA people. By the same token, something that we have in common also, the BIAFRAs are also indigenous people. So do we have 4 different indigenous people in Eritrea? That has been recognized through the United Nations. I think they deserve their freedom, their human right intact. I think they should be treated even well known throughout the world. Because of that indigenous movement for all of us, I think we have a big thing in common. Again, even coming as a pro-West for democracy, we both governments are working to restore democracy. And I think this is the biggest binding point we have in order to work together. The minute we met through the Office of Moran Strategies, we decided, yes, in order to elevate each other, yes, we can work together. Yes, our causes are just. Yes, our causes are righteous for our people. Therefore, yes, there is a lot in common for us to work. And I think it is not about if, but when. Yes, we will prevail, and our people, both sides, should be free. With that, I will yield my platform to you, Mr. KJ.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President, Mr. Bahadurai, Mr. G. Mr. Elias, can you give us looking forward and in the future what we can be achieved or expected from the modern strategies incorporation for these 2 governments in exile?
Yeah, so let me expand a little bit about in terms of what I said previously, which is connected to your question. First of all, I think with our firm, we now have not just a relationship, but a burgeoning alliance between the Eritrean government in exile, between the Biafran government in exile. This will become a very important partnership because both have assets to bring to the table that are mutually complementary. Biafra is a huge country with up to 80 million people, if you include the diaspora. It has a strong military Biafran Liberation Army that the Prime Minister leads. So it has certain assets. Eritrea is a very small country, but it has the advantage of being a country that's already recognized as a member by the international community, as a country recognized by the international community. So I think these are 2 causes that have a similarity in terms of you have people that have been subject to oppression in different circumstances, but who are beleaguered, subject to persecution and prosecution and killing. And so I think there's a commonality there. I think these are brotherly causes. And I think each of these causes and each of these governments are able to provide something to the other, which will elevate each other. And you're going to see a lot more in terms of, we already have specific plans in the works, and you will see those plans come into fruition in the next coming months in terms of how these 2 governments will, in a more formal way, develop their strategic alliance. As I alluded to before, we plan to keep raising awareness of the Biafra issue in Washington. Again, most people were not aware of it. We're now making people aware of it. Biafra has been taken now into the center stage of Washington, being published by major think tanks. there's some major congressional initiatives that we're planning these next few months that I don't want to get to publicly right now, but if they happen, will be very significant. And we're also working with our colleagues in Congress and elsewhere to create additional support for this upcoming convention in Finland. And I'll let the Prime Minister speak more to this. There's a Finland convention between November 29th to December 3rd, where you're going to have the signing of the redeclaration of independence, the restoration of the Biafran state, the signing of constitutional documents, strategic alliances, and so forth. So we're going to kind of, get the political support in Washington for that convention. So that's what we have planned. I'm very confident that with our continued effort, we will move our government towards supporting either recognizing Biafra as an independent state or having the U.S. government endorse the position that the Biafrans should be, allowed to have their independence through referendum, which the Prime Minister is already doing. And the Prime Minister, I'm sure, could talk more about that in terms of he's already organized a referendum where 50 million Biafrans have voted for independence. So, perhaps having the U.S. government recognize that referendum formally. And, the U.S. government being the major player, once the U.S. government's on board, other governments will follow, the United Nations will follow, and so forth. And as I've said, we continue to raise the awareness about the Eritrean transitional government in exile and continue to call out the dictator over there. And there's a lot that we're discussing. We've had conversations about potential legislation, potential resolutions, potential even speeches or what have you. So you're going to see a lot more coming. If the Eritrean government is freaking out over some of these meetings that we've had, they haven't seen anything yet. This is just stage one. People are not going to believe it when we get to stage 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I'm hoping that as we do this, we already have a consolidation.
Ndị be anyị daalụ nne nụ nke ukwuu ka unu si wee gbaa mbọ wee na-esoro anyị n'ife anyị na-eme n'ime akwụkwọ dị iche iche. Ọ bụ ife m chọrọ ikwu bifo ma alapụ unu ka unu tinye alụ nke unu ife uche n'elu akwụkwọ gbasịta maka ya bụ ife dịka o si ada na dịka o si akpọtụ n'elu akwụkwọ. Biko wa ajụ m chọrọ ịjụ, biko ndị Igbo ọma na-ege ntị saanụ ya bụ ajụjụ. Ọ ga-edugokwu n'oge anyị akpọ n'ụwa anyị mitin nke ịbụọ jụọ ụwa anyị nwanne anyị nwoke anọ n'ụlọ nke mkpọrọ ebe a ka ọ ya anọzi. Ọ ga-edugo oge onye ọbụla bụ onye Igbo ya pụtata ebe ya bụ ife ọnụ maka ya bụ ife akarigo. Nnamdi Kanu nwere ife o mere n'iru akwụkwọ. Tọsifọ ihe ọjọọ mere n'iru akwụkwọ bụ na ọ sị na ọ chọọzi ịbụ onye Naịjirịa. Tọsọ ya bụ ife ọjọọ o mere. And ndị ọha eze niile ma ndị niile were na-ekwuchara ndị Igbo ọnụ fa, nobody is doing something about it. Nobody is doing anything about it. Ife a na-asụ bụ tọsọ ogologo oyibo. Maazị Nnamdi Kanu bụ the leader of indigenous people of Biafra IPOB si na mmegide na-emegide ụmụnne ya dịrọzi ya alụ mma si nye ya Biafra ka ọ na. Okay, to tell you that what that thing Maazị Nnamdi Kanu na-ekwu n'eziokwu, since eji Maazị Nnamdi Kanu check the system of Nigeria till now, the system na-ebezi akwa, everything is collapsing. Always able to phone na-aghọta. The more you hold him, the more the economy destroyed. He said these things. O kwuru ya ekwu. Ọ bụrụ ife ụmụnne anyị pụta ị na-ekwu bụ ka maka eje yọọ ndị Fulani na mmejọ mejọrọ ndị Fulani. Chefuo na ha bụ ụzọ wee mejọ ndị Igbo. O nwere ihe ndị Igbo mere ndị Fulani? There's nothing an Igbo man. What if Igbo man mere onye Fulani? Ndị ọha na eze si na na-eje iyo in the Fulani about the killings in 1914. Now, Jubikon, over the Igbo mere ndị Fulani. Fulani from the jail wee conquer si Hausa niile wee bata ka conquer kwuola anyị Igbo ofu onye pụtalụ bụ Maazị Nnamdi Kanu si na nke agha ma mme na ndị ka ife agha adịlọ achụbịa ka egbuo onye Igbo ewere nwanne ya lee. Ya bụ ife bụ ọ bụrụ ihe nji maka ya wee bịa ma ọ bụrụ na ego ọnụ m n'ife anyị na-ekwu n'elu akwụkwọ. Maazị Nnamdi Kanu stand with justice, equity and fairness. Owe ndị emebere iwu iche ọ bụla ajụ na-ajụ ya so ndị Igbo ha akwa ejidere ya lapụ ya akwa the same thing Maazị Nnamdi Kanu na-azụ ka ọ na-azụ. Ndị Igbo kpọọ n'owu na meeting jụọ owu na-ajụ ọgwụ nakọ ha m n'ọnụ. Daalụ dị na-ekwusi na-esore anyị. Ọ bụla nke a bụ mbọsị izu gị na-abịa n'iru akwụkwọ esore na EveningTEA na Eastern News 24 kabarụ ka ị subscribe and turn on your notification ka ị lapụ imisi any for update dịka anyị na-drop ya n'iru akwụkwọ oge niile. Daalụnụ ụmụnne m ọgwụ nakọ ha m n'ọnụ.